Hello and welcome to my Aquaman review, which honestly I think is the best DC movie I have seen since The Dark Knight, which is really saying something. I know that's a controversial statement, but I think it's my favorite movie of 2018 too. I know I'm a little late to this review. I am just starting up my YouTube channel, but I really wanted to review one of my favorite movies from last year because I just absolutely adored this film. It's the wildest, most fun, epic ride I've ever had in a movie theater, honestly, and that's where I want to start the review, the theater experience, because this is the kind of movie that you just absolutely have to see in the movie theater. Like seeing it at home on DVD or Blu-ray and renting it and stuff, it's gonna be good still, but it's like really not, nothing can beat the theater experience when it comes to this, because nothing can beat that huge screen, no matter how big your home screen TV is. This movie is best experienced in an actual movie theater, which I saw it in, and it was very, very good. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't see it in the movie theater, but it's already out of theaters by the time this review is out, so if you didn't do it, your disservice is already done. I think the visuals are really groundbreaking in this movie. I don't get, since this review is late, why it wasn't nominated for Best Visual Effects for the Oscars. I honestly, before the nominations came out, thought that this movie was going to win visual effects. I mean, after I saw this movie, my mind was blown away by the visual effects. Like, the way that they made Atlantis the world that it is, it was crazy, like unrealistic, but so believable at the same time. Like, I think it probably has the best visual effects since Avatar, and I didn't even like Avatar, but I can say that it was an accomplishment in visual effects. I think this is like the next step after Avatar, and it's not getting that credit that it deserves. I mean, yeah, every single frame of this movie was honestly artistically just so beautiful to me. And James Wan and the cinematographer, they both did such a great job with however they shot it, whatever they did, and it was a good job done. I mean, I think almost every shot in this movie has some sort of CGI in it, and honestly, I don't think there was a single shot where the CGI looked off to me. I mean, like in other movies, like Infinity War, the visual effects, which I think Infinity War was nominated for visual effects and Aquaman wasn't, but the visual effects in Infinity War were really good for the most part, especially with Thanos. That was really good motion capture and stuff, but there were a few moments where you're like, I can tell that CGI. Like when Bruce Banner was popping his head out of the Hulkbuster armor, I was like, that is not believable in the slightest. But with Aquaman, there wasn't a single frame of this movie where that popped in my head. I honestly believed every second of what I was seeing was real. I don't know if that makes sense. I knew it wasn't real, but it just looked so real. Let's see. And the CGI for a movie that spends so much of its time underwater, it completely builds this world of Atlantis, and it's such a cool world. And the Sicily scene in Italy, obviously that's where Sicily is. It's arrestingly gorgeous. It is so good. It's an ad for Italy or something, because it's just so beautiful. And our first introduction to Atlantis when they're going in, it's crazy. The hauntingly scary yet beautiful trench scene. Those are all just some of the visual highlights, I think. And the visuals of this movie, honestly, the CGI and how beautiful it is and all the shots and cinematography, that is, I think, reason enough to see Aquaman, honestly. Now going on to the next thing, my second favorite part of the movie. I think the next best part of the movie was the action. That's the second part that wanted to make me want to see this movie again and again. The action in this movie is on point. On point. It is just crazy. It's over the top action, but it's so good. It's grandiose, and it makes no apologies. I mean, it is like it's full balls to the wall. It's crazy. It's not realistic, but I totally believe it's happening. It's like these people aren't actually really flipping around, but they're not actually fighting underwater, but it's completely believable and awesome to watch. And before we get into like the specific, I decided like I want to break down, since the action is just so good in this movie. I just want to like go through each action sequence just because they're all so good. And obviously, this is coming out like the movie's already on DVD. There's spoilers in this review if you have not seen it yet. But yeah, yeah, those are the two big standouts for me before I break down, or not break down, just go into like each action sequence. The two big standouts for me were the visuals of the movie, like the CGI and all of that, and the action shots. It just shows, both of them show how like wild and fun and just the great ride that this movie is. And now let's go on to like the actual action scenes. The first one, like really early on in the movie, is the movie starts right off the bat with this. It's like a big bang action sequence, and it's when those Atlanteans come to invade. I forget what's Arthur's dad's name. The Curry home, I guess, is what I'll call it. When they invade that home, trying to get Queen Atlanna, and she like kicks everyone's butt. It's honestly like seeing her fighting off all of those soldiers with the trident and all the like choreographed motions and attacks. It's flawless. It's like such a good way to start the movie. Honestly, it's such great action sequence. All the action sequence, I think there were better action sequences after this, but I wasn't even expecting this level of action sequence when I went to see this movie. So when it started off with this one, I was like, how are they gonna top that? That was like so good. I was so surprised, and then they did like top it. Like I think the next action sequence I'm gonna talk about, the Ring of Fire. This battle, like this is a battle to the death. It's similar to Black Panther, sort of like tribe ritual battles, but it's so like imaginative and intense. We haven't really seen a lot of fights underwater really, and I think it's better than the Black Panther ritual combat thing with Killmonger and Black Panther. That was a good scene. I think there was maybe more emotional stakes in that scene than there is in this one, but this one, as in, because we're just talking really about the action in these scenes, since we're going over the action scenes, this one had much, much better action, and the stakes, they're still there. I don't think maybe as big as in Black Panther, but the stakes of, like, Arthur, like, who gets the throne, like, they made their bet before, like, who gets what if they win, and the stakes are definitely there, and the way that Orm tricks Aquaman into fighting, like, in his home turf, because Aquaman, he's, like, more of a land guy, and Orm has spent his entire life training, fighting underwater, so he obviously had the advantage, and the fact that he, like, outsmarts him at the beginning, I think that was cool. And especially like the rescue escape part by Mera, like when she made that giant like typhoon water thing that pushed Orm down, I was like, whoa. I mean, Mera, we're gonna get to Mera later on, but her powers are honestly like she should be like the actual hero in this or whatever, because her powers are so much cooler than Aquaman's in my opinion. And it led into, obviously, we're not going to talk about this action sequence, but Mera saving him led into that cool, like, underwater, like, spaceship sort of action sequence that reminded me of, like, Star Wars space battles, but it was underwater. It's sort of similar space and underwater, but it was cool. I liked it. I don't think cool enough to, like, make it its own section here, but it's still good, still fun. Next one, the battle in Sicily. We already talked about how beautiful this Sicily scene is, but the action in the scene just makes it like even better. It's like the most visually stunning scene in this movie, I think, in my opinion. And the scene like another thing that makes it so good. It introduces us to like the secondary villain in this, the one who probably be the villain in the sequel, and we'll talk about him a little later on. Black Manta, in his suit, which should not work, but it's like it works. It works. It actually looks like really good. And his like tantrum and rage throughout the scene as he tries to get revenge on Arthur for obviously killing his not killing but not saving his dad. That's felt throughout the entire scene, and you can I think it I don't know, it like provides good motivation, I guess. I don't know where I'm really going with this. Provides it gives stakes, maybe, I don't know. But yeah. And then when Mera was running away from, we saw this shot in the trailer when Mera was running away from those soldiers, like on the rooftop, and like the camera's just like following her. Then it's Aquaman on the bell, which explodes. It's just so cool. It's like one continuous shot, and that's with a lot of these action sequences here. They're continuous, like one shots, which honestly are my favorite kind of shots. I don't like the kind of action sequences where it's a bunch of like shaky multiple cuts. I like it when you can execute a great action sequence with just one singular shot following it. That is like marks of a great action sequence. Let's see what else. It's a high energy fight scene. It has a lot of cool moments where like all of them show off their powers in like individual ways, like Black Manta with his rays, and obviously the scene with Mera where she like uses the wine bottles to like destroy those Atlantean soldiers. That was crazy, crazy, crazy. And I think this action sequence, honestly, maybe my favorite scene in the movie. It's the one that has stuck with me. Like when I think of Aquaman now, this is the scene that like pops in my head first. So I think this scene came at like the perfect time in the movie because I felt like maybe it was starting to get a little too slow. I mean, this movie's pretty fast paced, but it was getting a little more dull with the whole like searching for the trident and all that stuff. It wasn't. It was getting a little repetitive, and I was like maybe not getting bored, but I wasn't as into it as I was in a few scenes prior. And then this just like boom pulled me right back in. Next action sequence, the trench. I don't know if you can really qualify it as an action sequence. It's a really memorable scene. It really shows James Wan's it really lets him like use his horror roots here with the like trench. What do you call them? I think they just call them trench creatures. It's like exhilarating to watch Mera and Aquaman like swim through the gruesome creatures, but the imagery is also really cool. Like when they have the flare gun and they're jumping through the water, which is dark, but you see like all of the creatures with their gross teeth around them. That was crazy, and honestly, like scary seeing all those creatures. Yeah, this is I think this is where they let James Wan play with a little more horror stuff in what's an overall family friendly film. And I don't get like I guess we'll drop off of the like off course a second. I don't get why they're doing a trench spinoff. I mean, it was an interesting part of the movie, but I don't think it was enough to qualify for its own movie. Maybe seeing how the people became like the actual trench people could be interesting, but once they become the trench people, that's like the end of the movie because you can't really relate with them because I don't think they talk and they're just gross and all look the same. And that's like sort of a bummer way to end the movie. Everyone becoming like nasty creatures. So I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I don't know if that's still actually gonna happen. I'd honestly rather just an Aquaman 2. The final action sequence I want to talk about is like that underwater war, the third act action sequence. It just everything about it captures like the epic, over the top scale and essence of this Aquaman movie. You have like giant crabs, sharks, and that like creature thing. I don't even know what it was. Octopus that Julie Andrews voices. That Aquaman comes in on and like just destroys everyone. It has everything in it, like from sharks firing laser beams, lava crabs, like, and going back to that entrance, that's like that's a pretty cool entrance. Like I don't think we saw him. We saw him in the suit under the waterfall, but then it cut from that. And seeing him arrive in battle with that suit and the trident and on the Kraken, I think they called it. It was a pretty awesome entrance. And his control over the creatures, like his telepathic sound waves. This is like really where they like put them to use because he like makes. I think he makes like the sharks eat the people who like were riding them, which is awesome. And I never thought that power would like be cool. It's always like made fun of. Talk to fish. Aquaman talks to fish, but they made it seem pretty cool. Controlling sharks, so they like attack their own riders. That's pretty cool. The amount of detail in this battle is also really good. It just honestly left a smile on my face from start to finish. During this scene, there's awesome this also this awesome shot of Arthur and Aquaman and Mera kissing in like this 360 battle shot as like the whole war and explosions are going on around them and they're just like kissing, which maybe not the best time, but still awesome shot and one of the best shots in the movie, I think. Really good. And then the fight, like once they go on the surface between Orm and Aquaman, it was good. It was a little quick, but I liked it, and I think it packed a good final emotional punch. Now, after like all those good action sequences, and we went a little bit into the characters as we talked about the action sequences, but let's quickly go through like the main characters and what I thought of them. And obviously, starting off with who the movie is named after, Aquaman or Arthur Curry. He is the heart and soul of this movie. He is honestly one of, if not the main reason that this movie works. The cheesiest or most ridiculous scenes and circumstances work because of the charisma and gravitas that Jason Momoa brings to him. He is so sincere and funny that like even an octopus playing drums or whatever cheesy thing you want to come up with, he makes it work. It reminds me of Thor or Chris Hemsworth in Ragnarok, where he's just like so fun and engaging to watch that you would just watch him on any journey, no matter what it was, no matter how crazy it was. He's not the most talented actor out there. I think we all know that, but he anchors this film, no pun intended. He anchors this film so well, like in like what's the word, like in imbuing this like surly sort of charm that's just so easy and fun to follow. He and James Wan reimagine the Aquaman character in this movie. He does have the original suit, thankfully, which I didn't think would work, but it looks so good. But they reimagine him to, I think, fit Jason Momoa's personality more as an actor. Momoa doesn't try to become the comic version of Aquaman. I think Aquaman almost becomes a little bit Jason Momoa in this movie. And it works. I honestly think Jason Momoa is the new embodiment of Aquaman. They should change how he looks in the comics, whatever shows they have. I think this movie was a crazy success too, over $1 billion. He is Aquaman, and I like it. He's a great Aquaman. Awesome character to follow. It's just like Thor in his MCU movies, which I think is like the analogy I would go with. Really, really just fun to follow. And then his second in command, Mrs. Mera. I was at first not really into the idea of Amber Heard playing Mera. I never thought she was a great actress, but she proved me wrong on this. I think she may be as much of a revelation in this movie as Jason Momoa is, because they were both. I didn't have, before going into this movie, the best like thoughts of them as actors. They're both good looking, which is I think a big reason of why both of them became famous. But yeah, I didn't think they were the best actors out there, and they didn't do any like crazy thespian stuff here. But I think they really proved me wrong in like how entertaining maybe they are to watch. And I think James Wan, it really is a big reason for that as the director. He really helps them he really helps them like embody their characters. And she is, I think, almost as prevalent to the story as Aquaman. I think a little less, but she's really important and really cool. Her different array of outfits throughout the movie and her awesome red hair. Lots of people complain saying it looks like a wig. It sort of does, but it's not supposed to be realistic, sort of like everything in this movie. She's an Atlantean, and it honestly just worked for me. It looked really good. Everything about her was visually appealing. I don't mean that in like in an attractive way too, but also with like her red hair and like I said, it doesn't really look like a wig, but yeah, I think she looks a little bit almost like a badass Ariel or something. Yeah, and there was one outfit, the that like jellyfish dress outfit that she had during the fight between Aquaman and Orm was really cool. I really like that. This is like I said, I think honestly almost a live action Ariel. I think maybe a little cooler with the powers. She looked great, but I think she brought. Not only did she look great, but she brought something like really unique to the movie. I think her fish out of water scenes when they were in Italy were funny when she ate the roses. I mean, that and Arthur ate them with her. That was really funny. Her arguments with her dad also intriguing to watch. And her powers, I think, are my favorite part about her. Her powers are just so awesome. They're reason enough to have her in this movie, being able to control the water like a waterbender, but she was like the only one who was able to. She those helped with her as a character very much. Like I said before, just wow to that wine scene against the soldiers. Next, the main villain of this movie, King Orm. I don't think he lived up to the potential that he had going into this movie. I think he was still a good antagonist, and I think they set up his character going forward really well at the end. I think they could have put more emphasis on his stance about how humans are like polluting the ocean, and I think they could have another comparison with Black Panther made him much more relatable and make him have like much more of a like completely reasonable motive like Killmonger and Black Panther with that. But he was instead more of your like typical power hungry yelling villain, which worked. It worked for the movie. I just thought I expected, knowing that that was like his motivation going into the movie, that maybe they would try to go the Killmonger route with it, but they didn't. But that's fine because he still works as a villain. And you couldn't fit in much backstory or emotion for his character because it's already a very packed movie. His costume surprisingly worked. Honestly, if you showed me a page of his costume in the comic book and say we're gonna pretty much make this but in live action, I would not think it worked, but it worked like really really well. It's comics accurate but looked really good, similar to who we're gonna talk about next, Black Manta. And I like how they didn't kill him at the end. I like how they sort of set him up as a potential Loki figure going forward, a brother who like maybe in the sequel reluctantly helps him, like in Thor: The Dark World. I think he'll maybe like whatever the threat is. I think Black Manta and Aquaman 2. I think he may become a necessary ally to Arthur. He might need his help, and they could have gone the Killmonger route, but it's okay that they didn't. The other villain in this movie, more of a secondary villain, Black Manta. He doesn't come off super strong because he doesn't have. I mean, he has a big role. They did some origin story and stuff, but they didn't have enough focus on him. It's almost like they were trying to have two villains, but Orm is obviously, I think, the main villain, and Black Manta's almost squished in a little. It still works, but I think he'll have a bigger role in whatever Aquaman movie is next. But his introduction and origin in the submarine were pretty good. Nothing too emotionally moving or impactful for me, but it worked to give him some motivation and reason for being evil, I guess. The submarine set itself, or the submarine action set itself, was good. We didn't talk about it as a specific action sequence. I don't think it was that good, but still good. Um, and I think one of my biggest issues with this movie is the connection between Black Manta and the Atlanteans, because I just don't. I know that he was like a sea pirate and he'd heard of Aquaman before and stuff like that, but I don't. I never really got how he would have like ran into the Atlanteans and then made a deal with them. Doesn't seem like the sort of thing that either side, both Black Manta and the Atlanteans, would do. And they never really explained it. They just had a scene where they met and implied that they'd already known each other, and it seemed convenient, which I think it had to be for the movie to continue on at the pace that it had to. But I don't think another thing. I don't think it really worked. But another thing about it that didn't work for me was the whole creation of his suit thing. It's like they give him this perfectly optional or perfectly operational Atlantean suit, but then like, and they're in a bit of a rush to get Arthur and Mera in Sicily, but it's like they give him like a couple hours so he can like tear up and redo the suit, make it black, make it his own, which obviously, and they like montage of it with music. It was a little cheesy and unreasonable, but I think for getting the final outcome of the suit that we did get, probably worth it, just because that suit's so good. I think his action sequences and his design are his saving graces in this movie. I think the Italy scene really displayed what he could do as a villain. He looks great. His ray, his like I-beam ray is really cool, and I think he has potential. I just hope they maybe, I don't know. The actor did a good job. I can't say his name, Yahya Abdul Mateen or something, but he did a good job. I just think they may need to work on some stuff for the sequel if they want him to be like a main villain. Um, Now, Queen Atlanta and both of Aquaman's parents, Queen Atlanta and his dad, Tom Curry is his name. I think they're almost like the emotional, low key, the emotional center of this movie. Like, they're the two star-crossed lovers whose love was forbidden, Romeo and Juliet style. It's a basic story. Their chemistry in the beginning and showing the dad waiting at the dock every day for her, like setting up how she said that to him at the dock as she left, and then still showing him waiting for her, really made that reunion scene at the end of the movie so impactful. And I think that their love being the creation of what unites the two worlds and allowing them to reunite is also like, I think something, it's like the heart of the movie almost. I really liked that, and I liked their relationship. I thought it was really good. Vulko, he was okay. William Dafoe, good actor, but nothing really too special with him at all. He had a small role, and Dafoe delivers with what he's given. I at first thought he might turn out to be evil. I don't know if anyone else got that vibe, but I thought he may wind up turning, but he stayed as a loyal mentor to Aquaman, and that is really the only role he served as a mentor. It was a little random, another thing, like not a lot of explanation about how he like decided to train Arthur and met him and all of that. And I guess we couldn't go into that in this movie, but just I think leaves a few holes of stuff, like leaves stuff to be desired, I guess, which isn't a bad thing, but it also causes some questioning. But the scene, I wanted to just point out, the scene with him and the teen Arthur Curry on the beach, I do not think worked. I think mainly because the teen Arthur Curry kid was not the best actor. It was honestly bad acting when he was like, "Does my mom not love me?" or something. It was not the best. Now those were all the characters who I really wanted to go over. I think those are all the main ones. I also just quickly wanted to talk about the costume design, which I think was awesome. I went over about it with like Orm, Black Manta, like how they made the comic costumes work. I just think the design, creativity, imagination, and all of the characters is on the design is almost a character itself in this movie. Every like setting, vehicle, weapon, outfit, they all look stunning, and they all like have the same aesthetic. They all fit together. Atlantis was beautiful. All the costumes were really good. Um, I think this might be a bit of a bold statement, but I think honestly the best costumes I may have seen in a comic book movie so far, because it's just so pure, loyal, and true to the comics, but the costumes also like really work. They're also like badass and cool. And that is a hard medium to strike, and this movie somehow does it, and does it like really well. And now, as for a sequel, I think it has been announced. They obviously also announced the Trench spinoff thing, but I'm not. They may have given a date. I would guess 2021. They may try and stick to the December. It's a good time since it made so much money, but I just want it as soon as possible. James Wan, honestly. They leave a lot of potential plot points for a sequel, and I may cover that in a separate video, like an Aquaman 2 potential stuff. Depends. Might not be the best thing to do since it came out in December, and there's a lot of other things that I probably should be focusing on as I'm kicking off my YouTube channel. Like Endgame is less than 2 weeks away, and that is honestly hype. I also want to do reviews for other movies, like Captain Marvel, maybe Spider-Verse, but that was also December. But who knows? Maybe I will do a sequel thing. Obviously, sequels gonna happen. It was crazy successful with how much money it made, and I hope I hope the critics give the sequel more of a break, because I don't know, I forget what it got on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it was in the 60s, but I don't agree with that. Let's just say I would like I don't agree with that, because this movie is honestly just so good. Please go see it. It's surprisingly great. I think if I were to give it a grade, I don't know if I'll be doing a grading or rating system on my channel yet, but if I did have to, it's I would probably give Aquaman an A and an A, and which I guess on a 9 to 10 scale, or 1 to 10 scale is a 9, so 9 out of 10 or an A. It's just like a guaranteed fun ride from beginning to end, and it's just so entertaining and enjoyable. I just loved it so much. So yeah, that is my review for Aquaman. A little late. I saw it when it came out. I saw it actually a weekend early due to the Amazon Prime thing, but I'm just kicking off my YouTube channel and decided to start with a movie that I have already seen, obviously, and a movie that I really loved and would want to talk about, and I guess push even harder. So yeah, thank you for watching, and more videos soon.